Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. Here is Monir El Azzouzi from easymedicaldevice.com, and today we'll talk about PMCF literature search for medical devices. And for that, I have with me Cesare Magri from For Better Devices. So Cesare, welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast.
Hello, hi Monir, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. So, we selected a specific topic because there are a lot of sometimes misunderstanding, or there are sometimes some need for education or learning about that. So PMCF literature search is something that is really important to understand because this can lead to a lot of things. But just before to start all the questions that I have for you, because it's an interesting topic, can you just make a small introduction of yourself and of your company also?
Sure. So I'm Cesare. I'm the CEO of For Better Devices. We are a clinical and regulatory affair consulting, and we help with all type of devices and all classes and really all type from software to hardware and implantables. And we also develop in-house software that we make available also to third party. We just released our software evidence for systematic reviews that we can talk about later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what we are talking about today can also be linked to the software evidence that can maybe help people to do it better. Let's look at that. First, so we saw the title PMCF literature search for medical devices. So can you tell us more about what we mean by PMCF literature search? Usually when we talk about literature search, it's more for clinical evaluation. So here we talk about PMCF literature search. So can we have a scope here?
Yeah, some people call it also device-specific search. There are a few names also used in the field, but they're essentially searches that are conducted within PMCF. And the aim of these searches is to identify any information, any written information that has been published or placed somewhere concerning a specific device. So these are the two key words. So as broad as possible, but specifically about one device. And this device can be your device, the device that is under evaluation, a predecessor device, a similar device, an equivalent device that for some reason you want to keep tracking in terms of performance and safety, because this can give you information for your technical documentation, essentially.
So when we talk about that, so is it like something that is required to be done within the PMCF? Is it required by MDR and MDCG, etc.?
Yeah, there is also the MDCG about it. It's wait, I have it here open, the 2027. So the idea is that this process belongs to PMCF, which is a bit misleading because the fact that it's a post-market clinical follow-up, one thinks it's something that I start in post-market. So once I got the certificate, but actually it's not like that. It's the beginning of this process. It starts together with the state-of-the-art analysis. It's in parallel, although it's not state-of-the-art searches. And so it's documented inside the post-market clinical follow-up plan. And for the devices that are already on the market, so the similar devices, the equivalent devices, if you have a legacy device that was certified under MDT and you're moving to MDR, you can start the searches for the legacy device as well, because maybe there's been something that has been published or somewhere. And so anything that is already on the market, you can start searching about it in pre-market. And then obviously, if you have a new device that has never been released on the market yet, for your device, you will start after you get the certification. Okay? So even if it's PMCF, it starts in pre-market.
Yeah, because you have to do, as you said, the PMCF plan anyway, so it should be done before that your device is on the market, so it's important. But now, just to explain also to the audience here that is listening, so PMCF literature search, now I'm searching on my device or other devices or equivalent device, etc. What am I doing with those data that I'm collecting here? I mean, I'm collecting those data. What I'm searching, do I search for efficiency of products, or do I search for adverse events on products, or do I search for, what am I searching for exactly here?
Unearth the pulse of the medtech world with MedTech Conf, a dynamic platform featuring global events on medical devices, biologicals, IVD, and pharmaceuticals. Stay informed, stay ahead, connect, share, and elevate your knowledge. Become an official sponsor. Make your event shine on the map. MedTech Conf, your key to the MedTech universe. Remember, the future is now, and it's at your fingertips with MedTech Conf.
So this is the difference. So it's actually a search. It's not a review. So for state of the art, one usually does systematic reviews. In this case, it's a literature. It's a systematic search, which usually you have systematic search, and then you build on the systematic search a review. But for this type of searches, you just conduct a search. You create a big database. You extract certain type of data, certain type of information, which are mostly related to safety, but you can also extract information about confirmatory performance if you find some. And then you can use this database for different processes. So maybe you find some data that are supportive of your performance of your device or provide good quality data concerning the safety. You can include them in the clinical evaluation. Or you find risk associated to similar devices, and during development, you can include these risks in the in the risk management. Or in post-market, you find incidents related to your device, and you accumulate them with the incidents that you get through other sources in your post-market. So it's like a database that then branches to all different processes of the TT, and it's used in different ways. But the important thing is that essentially you find all these records, and then you extract certain information, like does it document anything? Does it provide information about performance? Does it provide information about off-label use? Does it provide information about specific expected side effects or unexpected side effects, specific population? And then you have this big table, and this table, then you can practically reuse it in different processes.
So now that we have a better understanding of this collection and then use for multiple different activities, for people that are doing this activity, I mean, I suppose you have met people or looked at some of the data that people were building on that. So do you have some idea or some feedback in terms of some misconception or things that they are not doing maybe correctly by doing this literature search?
Yeah, there are many, I would say. So I think the first one is it's related as again to the scope. Okay, so because mentally often these searches are conducted with two purposes. For companies that maybe don't have data for the MDR certification, they hope to find something in the publication, in the literature, that might help to create a clinical evaluation. So they tend to focus on if it's a legacy device, obviously. So they tend to focus on confirmatory data somehow. And then there is, these searches are done like routinely for PMS, often with in the wrong way, but just to show I'm checking what's been published in the safety databases about my device, and there is nothing that's surprising. And both things are in the end a bit right and a bit wrong. So because when people focus too much on the performance part, they tend to then exclude all the safety information, the tiny bits that could still be relevant. And on the other hand, it's actually not possible to demonstrate safety of your device through these PMS data. So one should really take this approach. That is, I try to find anything that has been published about a specific device, and then I decide how to use it in the proper way.
So right? as you said, mainly it's as you said, collecting as many things as possible, yeah. And then later we'll talk about how we are making the appraisal or where we are selecting or featuring.
And this is also another leads to another misconception, because the idea is, those who try to focus on confirmatory data, they tend to look only in the scholarly databases. I don't know, they look in PubMed, they look for studies published by academics and ignore the mode databases for the scope. Those who look for safety, they look only in specific safety databases typically. But the goal is that there is no, so also the MedDev says, I mean, when you do these literature searches, it's not about, literature doesn't mean published by professors. It means anything that's written. So you can mix PubMed with the website of a manufacturer. You can even, I don't know, get feedbacks from users from a specific website if they put information and reviews in there. So it's really anything that is written. There is that's the meaning of literature, and it also includes all the safety information database like MAUD, BFAM, MHRA, and so on. So this is also something that's where there is lots of confusion about, I think.
So when you say mainly that it looks like you don't need to be an expert in all this. It's not like you, as you said, you are reviewing and sorting, etc. Let's collect as many things as possible. So anybody, I mean, not anybody, but not specialized people can do that.
Yeah, I think most of the errors that we see, they are like in the strategy. So what to search and where, because and then what to ask about the records that you found. And so once you have set that down, it's actually, as you said, not one of the most complicated searches. Also because there is not this part of systematic review, so you don't have to do a meta-analysis. Or so it's really, if you have somebody who has some medical background and knows the device, they can actually start answering these questions properly. And then you have this database there, and then someone else, the person responsible for the clinical evaluation, can check this information and say, oh, here, you found a randomized controlled trial against state-of-the-art. That's good. We could actually use it also as clinical evidence, or to confirm or support our study, something like this. So it's indeed, as you said, it's probably one of the easier searches once you conduct it properly. And I think the main error is conducting it properly.
Okay, and in terms of the process, you also said that you can use those data for risk management, clinical evaluation, for whatever that is there. So then when are you advising people to start this process? Because you said yes, it should be started pre-market, but pre-market means what? Means even before we are starting the design of the products, or after we finalize the design of the products and now we are doing, or when we are starting now to build the technical file? I mean, is there a best moment to do that? Or like when we are doing a design, for example, we are starting with a risk management somewhere just as an initial phase, for example. I mean, is there a best time to start this research?
All these processes, they are a bit of loops, but I mean, for me, the pyramid is always intended purpose. The intended purpose branches down into what you have to do for the state of the art. So typically the medical background, and then the specific systematic review on the intervention or the alternative intervention. And that's the state of the art part with its quantitative summaries. And then on the other side, on PMCF, you start in parallel to this analysis for state of the art, these searches concerning these devices that are already marketed. And that, it's just to see what happened to these similar devices that are on the market. Can you find there any inspiration for risk or estimation of risk for the risk management? Or do you find information that actually these devices had some problem there on this market, or the FDA has suggested not to use them? Then that could give you feedback on, am I on the right track? Am I supposed to use these devices as comparison or as equivalent device, for example? If they have been banned in some jurisdictions, are you supposed to really use them as equivalent device? And so on, so that you can use them in lots of ways. They are like Lego blocks, like for the state-of-the-art analysis, on which you can build then loads of different processes.
I think it's a good point, because I'm working on a project where we are starting to build the risk management, for example. And one of the action is to identify some equivalent devices, and then to gather all the adverse events or things that happen to this device, to then identify those risks for this device that happen, to put them in our risk management. So this is this is the way that you are thinking now, the kind of exercise that we have to use this literature search for PMCF.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And again, concerning, so the fact that you're trying to be as broad as possible, as encompassing as possible. So this, you start with the scholarly databases, can be PubMed, PMC, EuroPNC, OpenAlex, Google Scholar, and so on. Then you can add the safety information databases, and you can still check for specific device issues in BfArM, MHRA, all of this of this repository, and then you can even use website from manufacturers, and registries. Clinical trial registry is also another source. You can go to clinicaltrial.gov or ICTRP and check has been device. Maybe you're not even going to look for studies that really want to confirm the performance and safety, but have these devices being used in some study, then maybe there is some report. You can find some information there on an indirect effect of these devices in these reports.
Okay. So in terms of the source that you just mentioned, you mentioned a lot of sources.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an official list of sources to look at? Or we decide the source we want to look at and we justify why we use them? Or the notified bodies are already saying you should look at that? Because I remember on the MedDev, on the MedDev, there was some databases that were mentioned for the MedDev for clinical evaluation, for example. So here, what is the strategy that we should follow?
Yeah, I think, sometimes there's a bit of expectation. Like, even if it doesn't make too much sense, let's say all these searches usually start with PubMed, which is it's usually not very useful because PubMed only indexes title and abstracts of articles. So, and most often, unless you have a study that really wants to investigate the performance of safety of the device, they might mention a device into the method section. So in PubMed, you wouldn't find this article. But usually it's like a given, so you start with PubMed. It's like a standard thing, and then you proceed to PMCF because it's also super well known. But then, for example, there are some people who skip Scholar because it's unpractical, and also because they say it's hard to reproduce sources, which is true. It's perfectly true. So you wouldn't use Scholar for a state-of-the-art systematic review because it's not easily reproducible. But for this type of searches, actually, obviously, you want to try to allow anybody else to reproduce the search in as far as possible. But in this type of searches, it's more important to find something than to allow 100% reproducibility. So the fact that you find something in the end is much more important than how you found it. So if you manage to find through some strange way in some weird database a report in which you say, oh, actually I had loads of problems with this device, we are totally unhappy and it underperforms compared to what we know until now, that's more important than the fact that this device was the most prestigious one. It's because it gives you a little building block on which that you can start then investigating or thinking about it. Do I have to check this better? So and for the safety databases, usually they are all what the safety databases are. There's a list.
I hope soon the UDAMED will be a safety database for everyone.
When UDAMED is going to be there, obviously it will have to be checked. I hope that the problem with these safety databases is that they are super heterogeneous.
Yeah, I know.
So everyone does things a bit different. Everyone calls things a bit differently. Some call report what other call safety. So some collect under recall safety notices and safety action, even if they are not recalls, for example. And so it's very much it's very heterogeneous and that's the complex part. So trying to look at everything and to keep it under control in one container and well documented. So usually it's the big challenge.
Hey, just a second. Do you need a EU, Swiss or UK representative? Then choose Easy Medical Device. We can represent you and also become your importer. Contact us at eo@easymedicaldevice.com. Doing my research on literature, because you talked about PubMed, Scholar, etc., there is one website that is a bit controversial, so I wanted to ask you, is this database also something that we would like to show? Like, I don't know if you know the database called ResearchGate.
Yes. Well, ResearchGate is not really that.
It's not a database.
Exactly. It's a social network for researchers. I mean, as I said, for these searches, if you find an important piece of information, even on archive, I don't know if you know archive
Yeah,
or
archive. Yeah, exactly.
bioarchive, so
Archive. Exactly. Yeah.
it's it, it's fine. So what I try to do is to document as far as possible how one could try to get to the same result. It's not guaranteed that it will 100% work. Like as I said, with search engines, for example, Scholar is not a database; it's a search engine.
Yeah.
So with search engines, it's not always possible to replicate things 100%. But as I said, the fact that once you find a file, once you file a record, I mean, it exists. So you can say, look, it's here. There is a link. So it's not that you're making up something. And at that point, that's the most important thing in this type of search. The same reasoning does not apply to systematic searches and reviews for state of the art. That's another field, because there you want to go for the highest level of the evidence that you can afford. Okay, so it's here instead you're like scanning whatever is available, and then afterwards you decide what you're going to do with that and for which process this is relevant and to which extent. For example, I mean, the appraisal of the data, of the clinical data that you're going to find here, you're not going to conduct it in the search here. You're going to conduct it, for example, in the clinical evaluation for those records that are includable in the clinical evaluation because they satisfy specific criteria, like it's a randomized controlled trial or it's a study with a X number of patients, you know.
But do you know, or do you think that notified bodies can have some issues with some of those search ways, databases or others, or maybe some new auditors that are not really experienced in all this? Do you think that they can raise some issues or some non-conformances due to the fact that, oh, but I'm not trusting what you are providing here, I'm not trusting on this, on that, etc., etc.?
No, for this type of search, we never had problems. Also, because again, it's so, you know, the fact that you find something, it won't mean that it's great quality.
Yeah.
But you can still decide what to do with this quality afterwards, and to rate it and to include it in the processes accordingly afterwards. But why should someone complain? I went to the website of the manufacturer of this device. You know, sometimes they list their clinical evidence in their in some notes, and then they provide a link to a PDF that maybe has not been unpublished, but has some information on the rates of skin irritation in their products. You know, why skip it? It's a starting point. It doesn't mean that you will be able to get a very good estimate of their skin irritation rate based on this. Maybe not, but it's the starting point. All right, they thought of skin irritation, so apparently they have this problem. This is a known side effect for them. So that's something that I might have to consider also for my device. It's an interesting information.
So when you are doing this search, now in terms of search strategy or methodology on those databases, are you doing the same as what we are doing when we do a clinical evaluation, like keyword search, timeline, with a period of 10 years, etc.? So is there some specific rule here in terms of searching, or you use exactly the same as any search that you do on any literature?
No, it's completely different. So it's completely different from the searches for state of the art, again, because the goal, it's you're not trying to find the cream of the evidence. You're trying to find anything. So you try to be as broad as possible. In theory, you try to use the query that is as broad as humanly possible, let's say. So obviously, if you have a device that's called S2 and you type S2 in Scholar or PubMed, you are going to get hundreds of thousands of results, because S2 can be the name of your device, like 20,000 other things. But maybe then you could add the name of the manufacturer, okay? Or you could add some specific keyword that would tend to isolate the specific device. But the goal is, I try to be as broad as possible, ideally identify any record that even just mentions my device, and then I collect it, and then I decide, okay, it contains, essentially you have just an inclusion criteria or exclusion criteria. You say it contains information concerning the performance and safety of my device, or it does not. If it does not, I exclude it. Otherwise, it's in. And then you start extracting the data on answering this question. So does it say anything about the performance? Does it say anything about incidents? Does it say anything about problem with the user manual? You know, Supposing you go on some website where they have the comments and someone comments, the user manual is absolutely incomprehensible. It's an incident.
Yeah.
So.
And in terms of timing, do you think it can take a lot of time for people to do all this exercise?
I don't think it's if you have a good method, I don't think it's crazy hard, honestly. Sometimes you can get a few hundred results. It's true, but it's not necessary then a crazy amount of work because you can go pretty fast through the information. On the other hand, I think especially for manufacturers of legacy devices, those who don't have clinical data, sometimes it has been really a lifesaver. I mean, sometimes we have been looking in putting misspellings and names of the device in Russia, and we could find articles, and these were low-class devices, and we could use the clinical evidence from this. So in that case, it can really be a saver. For the normal process, I think at least trying to be as broad as possible with your device name, adding maybe the manufacturer name, and trying to find as many records as you can. It looks very good. Also with the notified body, it really looks that you have tried your best. It's not crazy time consuming, and it can actually provide interesting information that you can use for real. It's not a joke.
Okay, great. So you can do this process manually, but you can also use software. So I think your software evidence is a solution also to do this search.
Yeah, I mean, we built it because we were going crazy exactly with that. So it was impossible to mix a mode search with the PubMed search and put everything together. So what we want to do is we want to use as many sources as possible, repeating the same strategy, collecting everything into a container, and then evaluate everything in the same way. I don't care if it came from mode or from anywhere else. I will just analyze everything in the same way, and at the end I want to get a report where everything is just analyzed systematically and uniformly, and I have my information in there. And this is extremely hard to do by hand. In Excel, it's practically impossible. We looked around and we couldn't find any tool that would really help with us. So we really started creating an aggregator that allows to get this information directly from the website of the sources, import it in this aggregator, and then in a structured way analyze everything as it were a gigantic unique search, and it's super useful. I mean, it saves us millions of hours. So it's honestly, I would stop doing it if I had to do it by hand again.
I remember when I think it was 1 year ago or 2 years ago, I can't remember, when we discussed together, you had this idea of making this software, and then you made it, and initially you thought that you will be just using for yourself, and now you make it open for others.
Yeah. And now we started, so it's you can go on evidence.systems and just start using it. There is also a free demo. And I mean, for us, we really reached the point where it was, okay, this we're not going to do it anymore. So it's like Excel and putting together the tables, and it's enough. So either we change job or we find a solution that allows us to make it manageable. And
I imagine those people that are doing that since 10 years or 15 years that are doing that.
Yeah, I think also that so what we see is that often, as I said, it's done in one of these two ways. One, just I look a bit in mode and I look maybe a bit in PubMed to find confirmatory evidence. But I think most people in the end don't try to do the whole thing because of a technical constraint, mostly more than a conceptual or a time constraint. It's so painful if you try to aggregate everything and sort it properly that it's not doable. So you really need some help there.
Okay, great. So in terms of this software, so is it doing only that, or there is some other functions of this software? Or?
So you can use it practically for all the systematic reviews and searches of that you need for the technical documentation. So also for the state-of-the-art part. So if you have to do the systematic review part, where you're also going to do the systematic, let's say, textual summarization or the meta-analysis or the umbrella analysis, that also provides the way to do it. And now we're also integrating a function that practically guides the user on creating the queries based on the type of searches. So if you choose PMCF search, you will get a specific questionnaire that will allow you to practically automatically generate queries, and then you can decide whether to use it or not. But that's would be what we would do practically. And the same for state-of-the-art analysis, so that even if you don't know exactly how these processes work 100%, you will be guided, and then you really need just to extract this information from the records, which is, as I said, feasible for most in a company in a system.
And I suppose you have already maybe some companies that are using that. So what is their feedback for the moment?
Good. They were like, we really got the feedback, which is like they found system that, I don't know, they were aggregating for them all the safety reports and putting them in a big database, or on the other hand, the system that were giving them like the ability to get information from PubMed, but they could never mix them together. So it was like sometimes they had like an aha moment, which was like, okay, actually I understand the process better because I can put really everything in this same form and analyze it all consistently. And we are really targeting also some of the things that notified body asks, when you have to do an update, that you do the update in the proper way, that's already encoded in the software and in the fastest possible way. So that's where we really help. For example, when you do a search update, many do the time delta, which is not actually correct, especially for state-of-the-art searches. You always go back the period that you plan to analyze. But this means that you have to redo the entire search, but you don't want to reanalyze everything. You want to just to reanalyze the plus, and that's where we help.
That's good. I am on the website now. I see how it's working. So you do a demo. So meaning that it's we just record. I see that there is a 14 days free trial. So you just click on the free trial, and then you can start during 14 days.
Yeah, you can just try using it, and
so good. So for the people that are listening, so it's evidence.systems with the S at the end, and then you can test it already. And if you are happy with it, keep it. If you are not happy, give your feedback to Cesare. I think he will be happy to hear that.
Please let us know what any problem or anything, any wish, like a feature addition. We keep expanding it, but obviously we are very interested to know what you think. And
great. So yeah, evidence.systems. So and don't hesitate to put some comments also on the video, on this video, if you on YouTube, if you hear this and if you are liking that, because just to see if other people have the same feeling about it. Okay, Cesare. So I will put all the links on the show notes for evidence, for you, etc., for better devices. So I hope this is helping now everybody to understand what is the literature search for PMCF and how it can help for the rest of the activities. And I hope it convinces people to start evidence. I think it's a 14 days free trial, so there is no risk here by starting it immediately.
Exactly.
Okay, good. So thank you, Cesare. It was really a pleasure to have you here, and I wish you a nice day.
Thanks a lot. You too, Monir.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.